Is it weird that we added the word health to a business-oriented brand?
Yes, but it is absolutely necessary, and I'll tell you why.
This is my really close friend, Steve. Steve has actually helped me out in many different ways. He is one of the best lawyers, in my opinion, in the Okanagan Valley, if not all of Canada. I'll always be here to tote your ego there, Steve. He's also does mortgages. He's also, a master in finance and accounting. And just a little quip on, what we went through years ago with Steve is I was part of a small business and, or not part yet, I got offered 50% shares in a business that I was so excited to own. And so I was about to sign the documents, and Steve, you said, Jaeger, let's look at this. Let's do due diligence. Let's dive into this. We dove into it. We found out this company owed about $800,000 in different debt. And you saved me out of $400,000 of a very, very, very sticky situation. So my friend Steve has done a lot for me and does a lot for the community in the local area here in the Okanagan.
So, my good friend Jaeger Johnson, he's a co-founder of Founders Family Wealth and Health with me, and I approached him to bring him into this business because I know that Jaeger understands small, mid-sized business owners. He is one. He's a small business owner who has built small businesses and grown them into mid-sized businesses. And beyond that, he understands business strategy. He understands business operations. He can relate and connect with so many different people because he's also a grade A salesman. Like, he just knows how to connect with people, understand them, and relate to them, which is so important. And as we want to work with these business owners, we need to be able to understand and relate with them. And I knew I needed a guy who could do that better than anyone else. And so that's why Jagger came on and became a co-founder with us.
Steve, when you went from a law firm, right? You're working to become partner. You left the law firm. You moved to a development company, if that's correct. And then after that, you then moved on and started your own law firm. How did you come up with the idea of creating Founders Family? Like, what was that spark?
So it's funny, when I was working at the law firm, I worked with small, mid-sized business owners, and then I also worked with large corporations. And I enjoyed working with the small, mid-sized business owners so much more than I realized after I left, because I got even more involved with large corporations after I left the law firm. I got involved with the family offices, and I started working with all of them. And it's amazing what these family office structures can do with the integration when they have the lawyer on salary, they have the accountant on salary, the financial advisor. And I saw that all operating at the high multi-million billionaire level for family offices. And I thought, how can I bring that to those small businesses that I used to work with when I was at the law firm and that a lot of my friends have and a lot of people in the community have? How can I bring that in an efficient way? Because small, mid-sized business owners can't pay for a lawyer on their salary, accountant on their salary, financial advisor, insurance broker. They can't pay salary of all these professional service providers because they're a small, mid-sized business owner. They essentially say you got to have like at least 25 million net asset worth to 50 million is definitely when you should look at creating a family office. Small, mid-sized business owners don't have 50 million net worth. They are much less than that. They can't pay for it. So what I realized was I went back and said, I want to go back to working with those small, mid-sized business owners that I used to work with and with the people that I relate with, I connect with. A lot of those large corporations and family offices, they're good people, but I wouldn't necessarily want to hang out with a lot of them all the time. And I wanted to work with people I want to hang out with all the time, but in an even more integrated way than I was when I was at the law firm. Because when I was at the law firm, I was just the lawyer. And I knew, unfortunately, my services were underserving the small business owners because I couldn't spend the time to give them the full picture advice they needed, because I would have to charge hourly and I just couldn't justify spending that much time to get their full picture and advise them like that.
Yeah.
So I thought, how do I take that model of working with these small, mid-sized business owners I did when I was at the firm, but bring that family office structure that these large, huge family offices that I worked with had and give that to these small, mid-sized business owners. And that's where the idea of Founders Family Wealth and Health came from, was how can I integrate a fractional family office service with all these professional advisors under one roof, integrated plans that are customized to the small, mid-sized business owners.
Well, that's what I loved when you asked me to come on board with the business. It was I was almost just as excited to come on board as a client, right? And that's the truth, because looking at what we're offering here is a game changer for small to medium sized business, right? Like it really is. And there's so many pieces of business growth that you don't know about. And for a lot of people, like even I'm still learning, right? Like I think if you think you know everything, you're losing, from that point on, because I consistently learn and I'm consistently growing in my own businesses that I have. And so when you ask me about this, I'm like, oh, my accountant can then know what my lawyer's talking about. They can discuss things, because when you're setting up a holdco or a share structure or whatever it may be, you want it set up, this way properly, so that if your wife comes on board, you want to sell these assets. Like there's so many things that you just don't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
Even putting a life insurance policy inside of a holdco instead of your actual corporation, because if you sell your corporation, certain things from that life insurance policy have to move over. Like there's so much to it that I still, I may pretend like I know when I talk like that, but I'm still learning so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you said to come on board, I was so excited to be able to help other businesses, but also help my business,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to, and
Yeah.
it's already has.
Yeah. And that, like, so many people are looking at how do we make our professional service that we give to our clients more efficient. And in order to do that, they create these templates that essentially they hand to almost every small
Mm-hmm.
business owner. It's like, here's our template for small business incorporation for a family who's involved with it. And they go with that because it's efficient and it saves the client money, it's cheap, but it's not integrated with the full plans. You don't understand why they're starting the business, what their plans for that business are, what other businesses they have going on, what their short-term and long-term goals are. And then you can customize a plan for them based off of that, because a structure that might be good for one reason is also not good for another reason. And what is the client's number one focus? Do they care about the benefits of that, or is the downside of that plan actually the reason that we shouldn't be going with that and we should adjust another way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everybody has different goals, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
want to buy a house, do you want to invest all your money in the stock market? Do you want to build your business? And, because you talk to business owners that are like, oh, just pump all my money back into the business. But then if something goes wrong in the business, again, eggs are in one basket, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and some people love that. Some people believe in that. There is a lot of very successful business owners that have lived by that.
Yeah.
But then there's other people that have like, well, my business was good. We sustained growth and I put a lot of money into real estate. And now all of our real estate, our real estate portfolio is worth X amount. And that trumps our business, right? So it's kind of cool to see the
Mm-hmm.
different goals that people have. And that's what I love at Founders Family, is that's what we're going to tailor things towards is, do you want that cabin up at Big White? Do you want the summer home? Do you want your house? Do you want all those things? Or do you just want to live in your house and put it all into the S&P? And then when you decide to sell your business, travel the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or have 10 kids, or,
Yeah.
have like, I always talk to my wife, we joke, but it would be like, it would be so awesome for all of us and our close friends and our family to live on like almost like a commune style, right? And, it's a big pipe dream, but
Yeah.
it would be super cool to have like, a little bit of a homestead one day and,
Yeah.
and still be part of the world. We're not running away, but have like, a little bit of a couple of chickens, a little bit of a farm, it'd be super fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know you say that in a joking way of building this commune for you and your friends to live in, but that there's so much to love about that
Mm-hmm.
because it's a community.
Yeah.
And that's what we love. We love communities. Everyone wants to feel like they belong. We all in our core want to feel like we belong. And so building a community makes you feel like you belong because you're part of something bigger. And that's what we want to do with what Founders Family Wealth and Health is doing is we want to be a community for your business.
Yeah.
When you become part of us, you are a Founders Family member.
Mm-hmm.
You are a member of our family. And we are a member of yours, and we're going to help grow that. And we're going to be a community together.
Yeah. No, I love that. So Steve, when I was learning about like what a family office is or a fractional family office is, I had no idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't know that really large corporations had all these, kind of positions built into them. So can you explain to me what a fractional family office is, or just what a family office is?
Yeah. A family office, a traditional family office, is when there is a family or group of families that has grown so much that they actually create a company to manage the family's assets, whether that be the family's businesses that they have, as well as their properties, as well as the general financial investments and everything like that. But there's an actual company created with professional advisors on salary to help advise that family or group of families on how to manage all those assets, how to grow their businesses. So you have families that own sports teams, and they own multiple restaurant businesses, and they own development companies.
Yeah.
Those families have family offices because they'll have one or multiple different lawyers. They'll have multiple accountants on salary, and they'll have teams leading those. And it actually then helps filter down into those businesses, because all the different businesses that they own are actually owned by that family office that manages the assets, the direction, make sure all of that is aligned. So it's a very effective model for growing and managing wealth and your family business. But how do you take that and give it to a small, mid-sized business owner?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the idea of the fractional family office comes from. And how can we do that in a way that is affordable and actually approachable for a small, mid-sized business owner?
Okay, so you would say when it comes to a family office, there's a major advantage that some of these really large, 25, 50, $100 million plus corporations or families own. And like, what are the benefits that these would have over, myself, who's a very, small, medium sized business? Like what would they have over me?
So these family offices, what they have is all the professional service providers are on salary. They understand the strategy. They're aligned. It's not external lawyers or accountants, financial advisors that only see a snippet and are advising based off of just the legal side. It's an actual integrated team, just like as a large corporation when they get CFO in place. The CFO helps make sure that the financial plan for the whole corporation is aligned with the strategy and heading in the right direction. Well, now you put a CFO in place for a family office, it makes sure that the family's financial plan and everything is aligned. And you'll have family members who have different personalities, different goals in life, things like that. So how do you integrate all of that into one plan and one strategy and head there as a unified, integrated family unit when you're 50 million to billion net assets?
Yeah.
That family office is how you can do that. And then when you take a step down from the family office, there's also what some people call family enterprises. And that's essentially similar, but the family enterprise model is where you have a family and they own multiple businesses, multiple different assets and stuff like that. And they still often, though, are relying on external business advisors because they're not large enough to create their own family office that has that integrated model. So the family office model has a step up and integrated approach that the family enterprise doesn't. In my mind, all small business owners should see themselves as a family enterprise. That's how you get there. You have to set that mindset that I'm not just a business owner and I have my family over here. I have a family enterprise because I have my family and my business, and I'm growing these things at the same time. How do I approach being a business owner and a family enterprise mindset? And now we take that, you as your client, your family enterprise, we approach you as that, and we look at that full picture to help treat you as a successful family enterprise that you are or are working towards becoming. But we're going to treat you like that right now. And then we're going to bring that family office infrastructure on a fractional basis to you and all the other small, mid-sized business owners and family enterprises that we're working with.
I love that. Gets me excited just chatting about it. So what would be a really good example? So, you can use me as an example or whoever, right? Doesn't have to be anybody specific, and whether they want to buy a home or they have goals to invest, like what would be a really good example of how, you could help somebody who's building a business. Let's say the business is a coffee shop that's doing $250,000 a year. It's a successful business, but it's not making millions of dollars. Like what difference could you make for their business?
Yeah, what difference we can make is all circumstantial. We're going to take a step back and we're going to start from the beginning and be like, who are the business owners? Who are the family members? What are your goals? And how can we now make sure that your current structure actually aligns with that? So we're going to look at the structure of your corporations, your businesses, your family. Do you have all the right, matters in place for your wills, estates planning matters? Do you have all the right things in place for your corporate structure and your businesses, from tax strategy, from a legal strategy, everything like that integrated? And then now, how can we help you grow more efficiently and take advantage of all the different areas? So as you start to gain wealth in there, is there different, corporate life insurance policies that we can put in place as investment tools because you are a business owner. And we can actually now essentially, when you're maybe looking at getting life insurance on your own as an individual, you have a corporation, you can actually get it within the corporation. And now you're getting it at a tax-free basis. You're not having to pull the money out to yourself individually where you're going to get taxed on that first and now pay for your life insurance policy outside of there. So we'll look at it a lot more integrated model and see what do you have going on and how can we implement different strategies to be the most tax beneficial for you and help you grow faster and take time off of your plate so that you're not the one having to talk to your life insurance agent over here, talk to your lawyer over here, talk to your accountant over here, and then be like, oh, now how can I utilize all these different things that they've advised me on in the best way for me? Yeah. We're going to take that out of your hands so you have more time to focus on yourself, the business that you love, your family that you love, and your own health so that you can be the best version of yourself with your business and family.
So it's almost kind of like, the analogy of the human body, right? Making sure you're getting enough rest, making sure you're working out and, getting your cardio and your heart health, but eating properly, making sure your digestive tract is healthy. All of these different things take, we all wish we could have a doctor that was doing this 24/7 for us, telling us that like, hey, this is what you should do. This is what will make you feel better. This is what will make you operate at a more efficient level. So it's almost a great analogy for what a family office or fractional family office can do for a business is keep all of these things in line. And that's what we offer here at Founders Family. And that's kind of what I think about. So that's awesome. I love it.
And I love that you're taking that idea of that, the health approach and the health professionals. I mean, if you had just one doctor advising you, though, it's probably going to be your general family practitioner. Yeah. And it's going to be so much more of a reactive advice. They're going to say, oh, what's going on? Make sure that there's nothing that needs to reactively be treated right now to take care of your health. But when you then go and see a lot of those other proactive health professionals, you're going to go see your chiropractor, you're going to go see nutritionist, everything like that. You're having to see all of those externally. Now, how do you take all of those things and get all the advice integrated for you? Because if they're all piecemealed, it might be missing something because you're not a health professional yourself necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, physio talking to your trainer, talking to your nutritionist, talking to, exactly. No, I like the analogy. And that's kind of what we're wanting to maintain here at Founders Family as well, is that health aspect of life.
100%.
Right? So you can have maybe some time to actually go see the physio or your chiro instead of working 13 hours a day.
Yeah. And it's funny because Founders Family Wealth was the name that, spoke to me at first. But the idea of your wealth was so much more than the financial. Yeah. But so many people, especially in North America, if you go out to Europe or Asia and outside of the North America culture, they see wealth as so much more than just financial. And I do as well. And I think we need to bring that back where wealth means more than just that. Health actually is a part of your wealth. Yeah. But in order to get there, we got to remind people it's wealth and health. Because health should be seen right there with wealth. Yeah. And in time, hopefully we can integrate it. So when people hear wealth, they actually think of your health, your family, your relationships, your wisdom, knowledge, everything like that, as well as your financial wealth.
Yeah, it makes sense. I look at my dad now in his late 60s and he's healthy. Thank God, because, at the, I don't know what the mortality rate is, for men in Canada, but I think it's somewhere in the 70s, right? That's where you're going to, most men die. And so I look at my dad, I'm very thankful he's healthy and, he's worked a lot in his life. And now it's at the point where he's able to come out here in the summer. And, I always joke to him because I'm like, Dad, you don't need to leave me any money. Like spend all your money, live your life. And I just want to see you. I just want to spend time with you. He's one of my closest friends now. And so that's something that I see, with both of my parents. Right. And, and I love my mom to death too. And she lives a little bit closer, which is great. So she's able to pop in and out and see her grandchild more now. And all that is great. But when you go back, 10, 20 years, like my dad was working a lot because he had to. Right. But, again, like I always like to say, like, you can't take it with you. So, it's great to leave money behind for your family and build that lineage. But I really, truly do feel now, like if I could have my parents living out here and see them all the time, that's one of my major goals and something that me and my wife, we sound like a broken record. I think we're starting to piss them off, but we're that's the goal, right? And that's something that we want to build into Founders Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jaeger, as a business owner, if you had something like what Founders Family Wealth and Health provides, a fractional family office service, fully integrated professional advising to you, if you had something like that when you started your business, what do you see the difference would have been?
Well, when I look at the, again, kind of the previous businesses I had, and then when I started, the current business that we have in 2020, again, there was some luck, there was some timing, there was, the right phone call that I took to be able to take this opportunity on. And things grew really quickly, and I'm grateful for it, right? So I don't want to sound like a spoiled brat, because I was very excited about it. And, to me at the time, I'd never seen more money in my bank account. And I was like, this is awesome, right? I didn't know, I had to, pay the piper for tax. I had to, take care of ocean freight that was up 10x, from what normal ocean freight was. And there was all of these learning lessons along the way. But as I continued to grow, and I had this money in the account, you start to think about tax planning, and how do I, in a legal manner, keep as much money in the business or in my personal pocket, and do so properly. I had no idea, right? So I started to lean on some people, and at the time I had gone through one accounting firm already. I was already working with another one. I won't name any names because that doesn't matter, but it was an accounting firm where I was really just a number. And so first off, they started kind of pitching a potential, trust. And with the growth I was seeing, I wanted to open up a business in the US as well at the same time. And so then I got on to a tax professional that is in the US, $850 an hour US. So I'm looking at this massive bill that they're throwing at me to set up the trust, to discuss with my, lawyer, to do this, to do that. It was going to cost like $37,000 just to get things started.
Yeah.
And
And those models can be very beneficial. I'm just gonna
100
say. Like
yeah.
we set those models up, trust structure can be right for the right client at the right time, for sure.
100%. And to be honest, things sounded like they were going to work out properly. But what frustrated me was I didn't, there wasn't a deeper dive into the business. So we didn't know how long things were going to be, as good as they were. I also didn't understand, what I was going to be even paying taxes. It was basically, although trusts, and from my understanding now, are very beneficial. They're used in many different cases. And I have a better understanding of that now. But
And they went through a lot of the pros, but did they go through what like the cons would be if you waited and set it up later, and the benefits of waiting and setting it up later?
no, we didn't really go through too much of that. And, in my ignorance at the time, maybe, looking at the scenario and not fully understanding it, which is also something that I think, we can offer here at Founders Family, is like a full understanding of how it's going to work, what we'll do later to benefit you if you wait, or what it'll help you with now based on tax structuring and so on and so forth. And at the same time, as we're growing, and I'm basically, me and my wife are slapping labels on boxes left, right, and center, and then stressed that products aren't arriving and containers aren't showing up and all this stuff, and then trying to deal with this. Do we need a trust, or should we wait, or how do we set this up? How do we set up a corp in the U.S.? Like, do I want to be on the IRS's radar? Like, how do I do this properly? Like all these different questions that I didn't really get direct answers to, and it was very expensive to get those answers. And then at the same time, I wanted to get a life insurance policy. And I looked into that, and one of my very close friends was working at a firm, and he's no longer there anymore. He's working at a financial firm, and he says, Jaeger, like, I'll get you set up. He's one of my close friends since like grade school. I love him to death still to this day. And we looked through like a couple options, and then his boss, who kind of gave me a little bit of an off vibe. I won't dive too deep into that, but he really was pushing this universal or whole life policy. Yeah. And, as I'm taking my LQP to learn more about insurance and so on and so forth, it was really not the right plan. He wanted me to start putting in $100,000 per year into this policy, which is again, there's a fantastic benefit to these.
Huge benefit.
Right?
I mean, these policies can be used with $100,000 a year policies in such a beneficial way, structured right for the clients to actually have so much tax savings, as well as ensuring that they have investment opportunities, and they're amazing structures.
Exactly. And that was the thing where I'm like, oh, this sounds great. Like when he explained everything to me, it sounded great. And personally at the time, it would have worked out if our revenue had continued just like hockey stick growth.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the real case, and that just wasn't reality, right? So, as the business was growing, we're looking at all these options, and I'm really excited, but super green. I had no idea really what I was talking about. My accountant wants a trust. We want to open up a business in the US. We have to talk to a tax specialist. Then we're getting a whole life or universal life policy. Then we're just getting regular life insurance, and I'm all these things. I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then, a year later, revenues dropped by like 70%. So we went from like massive growth to a huge slowdown. And one reason why I said no to both of these things at that time was because I didn't think that this COVID bubble was going to last. But what these offices did not offer, these services did not offer, was to have a conversation with each other to then plan for where the business is actually going to go.
Yeah.
And that's a huge difference, because that was stressful.
Yeah. And understanding that too, asking the right questions, where if they understood your concern for that, that insurance advisor may have then said, well, what's their insurable need, and what can they afford in the thing? They're only looking at off of your financial statements right now, not necessarily understanding those questions to understand what could it be a year or two from now, and making sure that you have the full picture. Also, are they having huge other expenditures going on for other structuring needs? Are they putting a trust in place and things like that?
Yeah.
Luckily for you, you didn't do that, but you were probably very close to pulling the trigger on those.
Well, it sounded great, right?
And what would have happened if you pulled the trigger at that time on those?
Well, looking at it now, there was 2 years where we had almost no profit in the business. So the only benefit to this, and that's why, if I was to look at a business that, had a good, say historical tract of like growth, and it's steady growth, and they have an extra $30,000 a year to spend on a universal whole life policy, and that they, have a good amount of retained earnings, and we're not in some like crazy weird, COVID bubble or 2008 bubble. Like, we have all these weird things happen.
And freezing for the trust, just to speak, freezing the trust, the wealth growth from then on, because again, it's all about, once you put it in place, you're freezing that growth for the future growth.
Yeah.
But are the losses in that interim, if you wait a year or two, the tax losses that could be there, maybe it's worth waiting a year before you implement that trust, because the downside of spending all that money integrating it when things could suddenly shift, you got to know when it's the right time. Yeah.
So the trust would have cost me a lot of money that we found out 2 years later we didn't have. The life insurance policy we wouldn't have been able to fulfill the required amount that we would have to pay into it. So there's just a lot of things that weren't looked at properly. Great tools, an amazing way to build business and wealth for yourself, for your business, for your family. But I was getting pitched from all different sides that nobody was talking to each other, and there was no proper plan to use these tools. It's like you're building a house and they're like, all right, let's start with the roof. A roof is good. You need a roof, right? But it's like, no. Let's start with the foundation. Let's figure out how many square feet you want, where you want to grow, maybe what you want to add on later. Like it's really properly building that structure
and building the right foundation for the actual house that's going on it.
Exactly.
If the guys want to build the foundation, but the foundation they build is for a huge complex, but all you're building is a little rancher, does that actually make sense?
No.
You got to make sure that the foundation you build, the actual building that then goes on top of it, the roof that goes on top of it, are all aligned with your vision and plans and goals for that house.
Yeah, exactly.
Jaeger, so if you were to give advice to a startup or a small to mid-sized business owner, what's one thing that you would give advice to them on so that they could grow in the right way now?
Yeah, it's really tough to pick one thing. And some of the things that have made a huge difference for me, I won't go through all of them, but I think if I was to pick one, what made the biggest difference to me in the last few years of my business was taking a look at that balance sheet and your profit and loss really deeply. And this isn't necessarily for immense growth, but I think what this does, and I see it all the time, because most people they have a bookkeeper, the bookkeeper gets that done, you got your receipts, and then you have your year-end accounting, right? And you do your tax accounting, and that's kind of it. And that's what most small businesses like myself can afford, right? I don't have an accountant on staff looking through everything, looking for holes and stuff like that. So I would start, seeing if your accountant, or if you're using a software like QuickBooks, or, whatever it may be, looking at your books at least once a month. Sit down, go through them, because you'll be very surprised with the amount of leakage that you can find in your hard-earned dollars. And a lot of people in small businesses take their own personal money that they've saved up in their property or investments, or been gifted from parents, or whatever. However you have this money to start a business, that's important to be able to ensure that stays in the business and grows the business. Because I've been able to find kind of turn a blind eye to your books for 6 months, and you're like, holy, I'm missing something, right? So I would, first off, I would ask your accountant to maybe start doing a profit and loss or a balance sheet, or both every single month, and just reviewing that. Spend an hour, review that. And that's, something that we here obviously at Founders Family are able to offer. Like, we do a free discovery call. We want to chat. We don't charge
Hmm.
anything for that. And it's like, hey, if you want to talk about like where you want to grow to, why you're seeing less profit in your business, and whatever the scenario is, we'd love to chat, because that's what we do here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. If I were to say one piece of advice to a startup or small mid-sized business owner right now that they could do is book a free discovery call with our Founders Family Wealth and Health team. We're going to look at things and help understand what's going on with your current structure, your plans, your vision and goals. And then we can let you know if we think that there's something that could be done differently, or when might be the right time to look at things. I mean, I've had discovery calls for people who are just a new startup and they're like, should I incorporate? I got told I should for XYZ reasons. We have a discovery call with them. And ultimately, I say, there's no major liability that you need to be incorporating for protection from type thing. There's no other current reasons from a financial standpoint that you should be incorporating, because we can't take advantage of certain tax benefits because you're not quite there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see growth in the next 6 months like this, you're going to be getting there real quick, and maybe we should look at doing it before some missed opportunity there. Or if you see growth to this point in the next year or 18 months, and I have those discussions of, 6 months from now, if you're looking at this much growth, 12, 18 months, these amounts, if you see growth in, let's have the call, because now there could be the financial benefits from incorporating, right? And so having that discovery call with us, we're not going to tell you to do something before it's needed.
Yeah.
We want to equip you so that when it is needed, then you know to come to us and we can work with you on it.
100%. I love that. Just get a good, I like to call it doctor framing, right? In the sense of not just one doctor, but having all of those health professionals look at you and
Yeah.
let's look at every single scenario, and we can help you that way. So no,
Yeah.
I love that.